Amanda's life took a dramatic turn from a young age. She lost her mother just a few months after birth, and her father, Mr. Chidi, struggled to balance his business and care for her alone. To fill this gap, he hired Gladys, a kind-hearted woman who took excellent care of Amanda, ensuring she was well-fed and comfortable. Impressed by Gladys' dedication, Mr. Chidi decided to marry her when Amanda was 2 years old, hoping to create a stable family environment. Gladys gave birth to a daughter named Ella a year later, and Amanda's life changed drastically. Despite being barely 3 years old, Amanda was tasked with household chores, often receiving beatings and going hungry, as she was just too young to meet expectations. Her father, oblivious to the mistreatment, believed Gladys loved Amanda like her own. As Amanda grew up, she faced numerous hardships, forced to mature quickly. In stark contrast, Ella was treated like a princess with no responsibilities and an entitled attitude. Ella frequently insulted Amanda, showing no respect for her older sister. Despite the harsh treatment, Amanda continued to respect Gladys, unaware that she wasn't her biological mother. Amanda excelled academically, consistently achieving high grades, while Ella struggled in school. Gladys' frustration grew, and she began to assign more chores to Amanda, hoping to limit her study time. However, Amanda's determination and resourcefulness allowed her to excel despite these obstacles. When it was time for college, Amanda's excellent grades earned her admission, while Ella's poor performance required Gladys to bribe her way into school. At college, Amanda's kind and humble nature earned her many friends, whereas Ella's arrogance and jealousy drove people away. Ella seized with resentment towards Amanda, unable to understand why everyone liked her and why her father bragged about her accomplishments. As the sisters navigated their lives, Amanda's strength and resilience stood in stark contrast to Ella's entitlement and spite. Ella's jealousy only intensified when Amanda was around, fueling her anger and bitterness. As Amanda's academic excellence continued to shine, her father, Mr. Chidi, couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of pride. Her outstanding performance earned her a brand new car, and he even promised to groom her to take over the company one day. The garage door swung open, revealing the sleek vehicle, and Amanda's eyes widened in delight. But little did Amanda know, her success had ignited a fierce storm of jealousy in the hearts of her stepmother, Gladys, and stepsister, Ella. Their anger simmered, masked by fake smiles and pretended affection. Gladys and Ella began plotting against Amanda, their minds racing with sinister plans. They started lacing Amanda's food with hard drugs, watching with satisfaction as she slowly began to unravel. At first, the changes were subtle, a little lethargy, slightly slurred speech. But as time passed, Amanda's behavior became more erratic. The drugs took hold, and Amanda's mental state began to deteriorate. She became paranoid, hearing voices and seeing things that weren't there. Her once sharp mind was now clouded by the haze of addiction. One day, Amanda's grip on reality faltered, and she found herself lost on the streets, her mind a jumble of confusion and fear. Gladys and Ella pretended to be worried, feigning concern as they called Mr. Chidi. "Dad, it's about Amanda. We're worried about her," Ella said, her voice trembling with fake tears. "She's been acting strange, and we think she's gotten mixed up with the wrong crowd. We've tried to get her help, but she ran away from us." Mr. Chidi's world came crashing down. He rushed back home, searching desperately for his daughter, wondering how she'd fallen so far. What could have made her turn to drugs, he thought, his heart heavy with worry. Meanwhile, Amanda wandered the streets, a shadow of her former self. As Gladys and Ella watched from the shadows, they smiled, their scheme unfolding perfectly. As Amanda wandered the streets, Mr. Chidi couldn't sleep. His daughter Amanda was still missing, and worrying ate at him day and night. He had filed a police report, hired private investigators, and searched everywhere, but nothing. The guilt tore at him. He had left Amanda mostly in the care of his wife, Gladys, trusting that she would love her like her own. Now, he wasn't so sure. One evening, as he walked past the living room, he overheard whispers Gladys and their daughter, Ella. Curious, he moved closer and quietly listened. What he heard froze him in place. They were talking about Amanda. Gladys laughed softly and said, "The drugs worked perfectly. Little by little, they twisted her mind. She went completely mad, just like we wanted." Mr. Chitty's eyes widened. His heart pounded in his chest. He burst into the room, rage written all over his face. "What did you just say?" he shouted. "You drugged my daughter. You made her lose her mind." Gladys and Ella jumped in shock. "I'm calling the police," he growled. "You'll both go to prison. And let me be clear, you won't get a single cabo from me again." He turned to walk away, pulling out his phone. But Gladys acted fast. She grabbed a heavy wooden stick nearby and hit him hard on the back of the head. Mr. Chitty dropped to the floor, silent, unmoving. As Mr. Chitty lay unconscious on the floor, Ella rushed to him and screamed, "He's not breathing. Keep quiet." Gladys snapped. She was shaking, but not with regret, only fear of being caught. Then she sighed deeply and said, "It's time you knew the truth, Ella." "What truth?" Ella sobbed. "Mr. Chitty, he's not your real father. He hired me years ago to care for Amanda. When he proposed, I said yes, not for love, but for money. I kept seeing Nathan, my boyfriend, behind his back. When I got pregnant, I knew the baby was Nathan's." "You, Ella?" Ella gasped. "Nathan, the driver." Gladys nodded. "Yes. He had nothing, so I stayed with Chitty for the wealth. He never suspected a thing. And now, with Amanda gone, and your father out of the picture, no one will ever know the truth. Everything he owned is ours." Ella stared at her mother in shock. Then, slowly, she wiped her tears, stood up, and nodded. Together, they wrapped Mr. Chitty's body in a blanket, put him in the trunk, and drove far into the countryside. They dumped his body in a deserted area and returned home, hoping no one would ever find out what they had done. But evil has a way of digging itself back to the surface, no matter how deep it's buried. After Gladys disposed Mr. Chitty's body, she quickly put on a performance stares, frantic calls, and finally a report to the police. "He went looking for Amanda," she said, trembling. "Then he just disappeared." Ella sat beside her, quiet and dutiful. The act worked for a while. What they didn't know was that Amanda had already been found frail, disoriented, and wandering near an abandoned mall. Her friends took her to a recovery center, far from home and danger. As Amanda slowly healed, her memories returned, the bitter taste in her food, Gladys's fake concern, Ella's constant surveillance. It all made sense. "They drugged me," she whispered to a nurse. "But why?" She gave the police everything: dates, their suddenly extra niceness, Ella's hoovering around her when eating. The police also recovered tests and old messages between Gladys and Nathan, the former driver. DNA was then required. Secretly it was done, and it exposed a buried truth. Ella wasn't Chitty's daughter. Gladys had a motive to silence him. While she and Ella kept up appearances, posting prayers, clinging to each other for the cameras, the investigation was closing in. "Stay calm," Gladys told Ella, believing they were still in control. But they weren't. The night they dumped Mr. Chitty's body, someone had seen them. A man named Elliot, sitting on his porch, watched two women drag what looked like a body into the woods. Suspicious. He recorded it all and snapped photos. After they sped off, he crept closer and found Mr. Chitty still breathing. The truth was no longer hidden. It was rising fast. As Elliot realized Mr. Chitty was still alive but unconscious, he immediately called for help. The villagers arrived, and Mr. Chitty was rushed to the hospital. Elliot was scared, so he stayed quiet for a time. But when Mr. Chitty started recovering, Elliot couldn't stay silent. He handed the evidence to the police, and everything fell into place. Detectives matched the card to Gladys, and the timeline matched Amanda's story. Mr. Chitty, now strong enough to speak, shared everything: how he had overheard Gladys and Ella plotting against Amanda, how Gladys had struck him down from behind. The police informed him that Amanda had been found, recovering in a safe house, and that she remembered everything. They also revealed that Ella wasn't his biological daughter. Devastated, Mr. Chidi cried. But there was relief. Amanda was alive. A few days later, Amanda visited him in the hospital. He pulled her into his arms, apologizing. "I should have protected you," he wept. Amanda reassured him. "It's not your fault. She never loved me. I wasn't hers." The time had come. The police surrounded Gladys's house for the arrest. When Gladys opened the door, she froze. Standing before her were Mr. Chidi and Amanda Livan behind them, officers ready to take her away. Gladys, desperate, begged, "Please, for our daughter's sake, forgive me." Mr. Chidi stepped forward. "Our daughter? You mean Nathan's daughter? I know everything." Ella stepped forward, tearful, pleading, "Daddy, I didn't know what I was doing. It was all her. Please." But Mr. Chidi, furious, responded, "You drugged your own sister. You tried to kill me. No excuses." The officers moved in, handcuffs clicking. Gladys and Ella were arrested, silent as the weight of their crimes crushed them. As the police then drove away, Mr. Chidi turned to Amanda, pulling her close. "You're all I need now." Amanda nodded, tears in her eyes. Father and daughter stood together, the quiet of justice surrounding them. The end. Like, comment, and subscribe for more stories.